Welcome to HBCU Her Voice, a place where we celebrate the powerful voices and stories of remarkable women from historically Black colleges and universities. I'm your host, Shanadra Washington, a proud HBCU graduate myself. I'm thrilled to bring you this platform dedicated to amplifying the voice of our community. We dive into inspiring stories of resilience, success, and the incredible impact these women are making in the world. From trailblazing entrepreneurs to innovative leaders, we bring you the stories that matter, showcasing how HBCU experiences shape paths and fuel passions. We'll explore challenges, victories, and wisdom. Whether you're an HBCU alum, a student, faculty member, supporter, or simply someone who believes in the power of diverse voices, we are so glad to have you. So listen up as we share insights, celebrate achievements, and uplift our community. Together, we can inspire the next generation of leaders and ensure our voices are heard loud and clear. A grand welcome to HBCU Her Voice. Everybody, Shanadra Washington here, the fabulous host of HBCU Her Voice podcast. Y'all know it's like one of my favorite places to be. And I'm so excited to be back because we have yet another amazing guest. And this one is doing some groundbreaking things. I have already given her her roses, and this is a place where I can do it more abundantly. And I'm so excited. So we're going to just kick right in like we always do. She's going to tell us her name, where she's streaming from, and which HBCU she's repping, because we always got to rep real hard. And she's going to jump right into a story. Without further ado, here's our amazing guest.
Hello. I am so excited to be here. My name is Diane Gilbert-Jones. I am located in Carson, California, right outside of Los Angeles, California. And I am representing Southern University A&M College, SU Jaguars. I'm a graduate of there, and I received my Bachelor's of Science degree in Civil Engineering and also with the emphasis in Environmental Engineering. And my story is one of those stories that you would just say, wow, if she can do it, I can do it. I have humble beginnings. I'm from a small town in Louisiana, from a family of 7. My father was the only one that worked. He and my mother did not have a college degree. And I aspired to be an engineer when I was in 6th grade. My father worked in the wastewater industry. He treated wastewater, and people don't know that sewage. And I was just fascinated about how we can turn dirty water into clean water. So in 6th grade, I started out looking at, what kind of degree I can do, how I can be a public servant, how I can help our environment and our people to understand better what happens with the wastewater. And so in 6th grade, I started out and I found out that you could be an engineer. And that, what did that mean? What does that look like for a female becoming a civil engineer? And I researched it. I found out that you had to take a lot of math and science. Math was my favorite course when I was in school. And so that seemed to fit me. Back then, we didn't call them STEM careers, but now they're labeled as STEM careers in science, technology, engineering, and math. And so I started in 6th grade on a journey to become a civil engineer so that I could help the environment and help the public in treating wastewater. I graduated from Southern University, as I said. I had my bachelor's degree. The city of Los Angeles came to Southern. They were recruiting. They hired me, and I have since been working for the city of Los Angeles for 36 years. I recently retired in July last year. So this year made 1 year that I was actually retired from being a civil engineer. My journey is different is because I was the first Afro-American Black engineer, female, to work for the city of Los Angeles in the LA Sanitation department. I was actually assigned to the largest wastewater treatment plant on the West Coast. We produced and treated the most wastewater, and I was the first. And I will say since then, only 2 or 3 have been hired in that position. And so with me, there were a lot of firsts. I was in a male-dominated field. There were not people that looked like me for about 10 years into my career. And so I had to be first in a lot of things. And if many of you don't know, wastewater treatment, there's processes and there's operations that go on. And at the time when I was hired, they were upgrading the facility because it had not been upgraded to the 70s. And I came in there in the early 90s. And they needed engineers to do the design, to do the construction, and to make sure that what they were building was conducive for the public's use and the environment. And so I was thrown into the thick of things. We had a consent decree with the United States government that we had to upgrade this facility. We had so many years to do it. And I was thrown on some high profile projects. I look back now and I didn't know that. But now, after 36 years, I do know that if the city had not accomplished those projects, that they would have had to pay a lot of money, and they would have had to also endure a lot of environmental issues if they had not done the upgrade. I remember sitting in a meeting with the manager and all the other managers and other engineers, and I was the person leading the meeting. And throughout the whole meeting, people were just talking and having their own conversations. Even though I was leading the meeting, I was at the forefront of the meeting, I was there answering questions, people were still not engaging me and, not paying attention. And it was like they didn't trust me, right? Like, who is this person and what does she know? And she is new. And at that point, I decided that this would never happen to me again. I would never be in the front of a meeting, being the person leading the meeting and not being trusted, being respected, and being given the recognition that I was the chair of that committee and leading that meeting. So I was on a pathway then to start taking leadership classes, management classes, presentation classes, how to engage people, so that I would always be the person that people look to for information. And that started a whole path with me. I started taking training classes outside of my work hours. I started taking all the leadership management classes. I started going to conferences that talked about, wastewater treatment and what did that mean. And literally, I just became what I say a nerd expert in wastewater treatment, because there was no question that anybody could ask me that I did not have an answer, or that I did not know how to find the answer. And I tell people all the time is that when you are new to a job, you have to know how to move through that job. And me being very new and no one looking like me was even more so. You have to know how to move through that job. And so what I did was pulled on my education, the experience that I had, and then I moved that into what things the city offered that you could take as a new employee. And also as you moved up to supervision and as you move up to management. And I was in Wisconsin doing a conference for the city, talking about what we did, how we treated, because remember, City of LA was is one of the world-renowned agencies and cities in treating water and wastewater. People from all of the United States and all over the world come to the water reclamation plant and to the Los Angeles Department of Water and Power and to their big water treatment facility to find out what types of treatments they use and how they can manage so much water for so many people and not have violations, or are able to meet the regulations. So I'm in Wisconsin, and when I get there, I find out that I'm the keynote. Now, I've been to conferences for years, room of maybe 200 people, and, doing what I do because I'm proficient in public speaking. I like engaging people. I like talking and giving people information. And when I get there, I find out I'm the keynote speaker, and it's a big ballroom, and it seats 5,000 people. And I am in a quandary because I was like, okay, not knowing I'm the keynote, okay, not knowing it's going to be this setting. And then this is the first time that I had saw a projection screen as big as that screen was. It filled the whole entire ballroom. And then there were small ones around. And I am 5'2", weighing 220 pounds, and I'm the keynote. And at that moment, I said that this is where I get to shine. Now, remember, no one looks like me. There are not many other Afro-American people in the audience, and maybe 5 or 6 women, but no other Black female was in the audience. And I give this keynote, and I'm talking about this information. The city was in this major lawsuit, and I was their technical expert, and people were wanting to know how we were moving through this lawsuit. How do we think we're going to win? What type of information we had? And I'm at the podium, And immediately when I opened my mouth, it was like the quietest I had ever heard anything. No one was talking. It was so quiet that I could hear myself speak. And at that moment, fear set in. I was like, okay, how do I move through this? But immediately, because I'm a spiritual person, that kicked in, right? And said, Diane, if you were not supposed to be here, if you were not qualified to be here, if you were not competent to be here, they would have never asked you. You go up and you do what you do. And from that moment on, I have been doing this, loving this, and being the focal point and the technical expert for the city in wastewater treatment at that time. After the session was over, people came up and talked to me and said, oh my God, that was so good. And we know the city's going to win the lawsuit if they have you behind them. You provided such great information. And the way that you presented the information, it was like, wow, we can do this too. And so at that moment in my career, I know that I could be in any form with anyone and that I would be able to hold my own, that I would be respected, and that I would be trusted. And as we moved through that, it was like the best experience of my life because I've been able to do that ever since then.
Diane, you know how I felt already before the interview. Like, I just want to give you a virtual hug because that was so much in just 10 minutes, right? That's a lot of resilience. That's a lot of figuring it out. That's a lot of standing proud, all packed up in 10 minutes. And of course, you know, throughout life and everything, it didn't feel like 10 minutes, but what you have given me is something that I'm even inspired by because I left the corporate space in 2021. And I can recall in my career when I started to manage a large team, people would come over and ask around me as if I wasn't the manager. Yes. They would ask the person sitting over there, knowing that I had the title and that I was the one that was supposed to give the direction. You're fine. Remember, we good over here. So that I was the one that's supposed to give the direction and everything, and they will go around me. So you just talked about kind of combating that with being such a subject matter expert in what you did that the talent could not be denied. But I want you to kind of couple and lay on top of that the importance of knowing who you are and operating in authenticity.
Well, the first thing is that you need to be able to say that I belong here, that I have all the credentials, that I have met all the requirements, that they selected me based upon my skills and knowledge and my education. And that's something that we forget when we are at the table, or that when we're in these meetings, that we belong there, that this wasn't given to me, that this wasn't a token, like I wasn't a token person chosen, like this had nothing to do with my inabilities. This had to do with my ability to be able to meet the job requirements, that I met those, and that I belonged at the table. Also, you have to understand is that who you are is what they're looking for. And people don't understand that they don't have to know what your ethnicity is, if you're female, if you're male, but who you are. The name was Diane Gilbert-Jones, and that's who I am. That's who I'm representing.
Oh my gosh. I love it. I love it because you are pointing out that they are asking for the skill set, right? They're not asking for the race, the ethnicity, that type thing, but the skills that you possess is the things that they're actually looking for. And that's such a powerful way to put it out there. Now, first off, I didn't get to tell you this after the first little segment, but you said you retired. So congratulations. Congratulations. I want to talk about what that feels like. And I know that you're going into a different phase of life where you're doing more advocating for students. I want you to first tell me about what retirement actually feels like and that kind of aha moment that I've actually survived all of this and gotten to a place where I can actually retire, and then transition into what this next phase looks like for Diane.
Well, you know, retirement, and people were saying, oh my God, you're going to be bored. You're not going to have anything to do. And you may have to find a job because you won't be using your skills and your knowledge, and, you know, you won't be around people. And I have not found that to be the case. It made a year this July that I was retired. I am the best friend with my recliner. And because I did so much when I worked and I gave to my community and I did so much, so many other things, is that literally God said to me, rest. And I know how to rest now. Before I did not. Now I know how to rest. The only thing that I can say about retirement is that I miss people. I am a people person. I like to be around people. I like to engage people. And so I do miss the people and the ability to be able to have conversations with different types of people. But other than that, retirement has been great for me. And I've not really retired, as they can say, just retired from a formal job of getting up every day and going into an office and being in meetings. But I'm still doing some of the work that I was doing when I was working, and that is advocating for students. I love being able to help students to develop themselves, to grow, to learn, and then to move on to be productive citizens in society. I have been tutoring for over 30 years. I have been mentoring for over 20 years. I help students get into college. That's my passion, because the only way I was able to go to college was on a scholarship. I got a scholarship to go to Southern University, and that was the only way I could go, because I said I was from a family of 5 kids and my dad could not afford to send all of us to college. And so I got a scholarship. And I advocate for students to be able to go to school for free, to not have to worry about that financial burden, to get someone else to pay for you to go to college, so that when you're out, when you get out, that you can immediately start being productive, that you can immediately start working in your career and giving back to your community, instead of having to worry about paying for your college financial burden that you had once you were there. I also do scholarships and financial aid workshops. I have been doing those for years, just helping the students to know how to move through the whole arena of getting scholarships, applying for them, knowing how to write an essay, and also knowing what the financial aid means, and being able to apply that to your college, so that after 5 years, that if you have to go 5 years, that you will still be able to have funding for that. And then the mentoring part. Through my career, I'm still not seeing many of us. To be honest with you, not many Afro-American engineers that are female. And so that is one of my passions. And I am mentoring high school students and engineering professionals, so that they can be able to give back once they get into engineering, and be able to know how to move in that profession, because they still won't see many that look like me, and that they have a voice, and know that their voice is powerful and impactful. So retirement is here, but I'm still doing a lot of things that I was doing while I was working. And I also am a math STEM teacher at Cal State University, Long Beach, in their Upward Bound programs, where I'm teaching math and STEM courses to high school students. So I've been doing that now for the last 2 years, and not full-time now, but part of their full-time program started this year.
So basically, Diane just said, all in all, I'm out here being a rock star. This essentially, we know we heard it in all the different phases, but to me, that's what it is, because there's such a need in the STEM space that we often hear about. So to hear somebody who said, I've walked the walk, and here I am transitioning to another space, and I'm still not seeing their representation, then we know that the work that you're doing is needed. Right. And that should be something, I think, that inspires you to go, because here we are in 2024, and
Yes.
this is still being a discussion.
Yes.
I want to pivot into this, because one of the things that you shared with our team is that the challenge that you're facing, and I can speak to this because I'm a mother of a 6-year-old who'll be 7 in a couple of days. But you said that the school system is not preparing these children for the real world.
Yes.
And this, I know. I want you to talk about that in more depth. I want you to kind of talk about your pain points and maybe some aha moments that come out of me just saying that statement, because it's something that we need to tune in and listen to, especially if you have a child in your household, even beyond. It is such a thing that does not need to be swept under the rug, but needs to be not only talked about today, but consistently.
Well, that was one of the reasons that I started tutoring, because I found through just my experience, and I do a lot of workshops at in the school system, and the teachers are being asked to teach standardized lessons to the kids, so that they are able to pass those standardized tests at the end of their school year. And it's basically tied to finances and the scores and how many kids pass and what grade levels they're on. And when you're teaching to standardization, what you're doing is saying that the kid has to learn this level of information to answer a question on a test, but they don't have to really know the information and why that information is important, especially when you are in middle school, because middle school is the foundation for high school and then whatever you plan to do in the real world, whether it's work, whether it's military, whether it's college, right? And so the foundation for middle school is knowing why it's important to take that math, knowing why it's important to know correct English and how to formulate sentences and write essays and respond to comprehensive questions when you're reading something. And our kids are not being taught the fundamentals. And what happens is that when the parents ask those questions, well, why don't my kid know about how to do multiplication and that it's just a continuation of addition? And what the teachers and the system says is that, well, they will pick that up. They will just learn that through the process of just going to school. Reading is one of those things that I find that our kids are in sixth grade and having a difficult time with just basic reading and knowing how to put sentences together to formulate a paragraph. And it's because the teachers are teaching to the standards. They are not teaching the kids how to be able to define words and know what that words means and how to use that word in context with what they're writing. And so that whole system is just really failing our kids, because as they move to high school and then to college, we find that they're behind, and that sometimes kids are having to take classes in their freshman year. They're having to take them still in their sophomore year because they're finding that they're behind, whereas in college, they can't go right on into their majors. And also what happens is that the parents don't know how to help their kids because the school system is not allowing the parent to be part of the process and how their kids are being taught and what their kids are being taught. And a prime example is Common Core in California. That whole system came out. And instead of us starting with kids incoming into kindergarten, pre-K and kindergarten, they moved it to kids that were already in school, that had already been in school in fourth and fifth grade already. And now you're telling our kids to relearn and rethink and have a different way we formulate math. There was nothing wrong with Common Core if it was just going to be a different way of teaching the student. But when it becomes the standard, and the parents don't even know how to work the standard, how then are you saying to the kid that you should be able to learn this, transition into this new way? And by the way, we don't have resources for you. Because a lot of the teachers didn't even know how to work the Common Core math and had to go back to school to take it. And so those are types of things that I advocate for the parents and for the students, is that it's okay with learning something new, but how do we transition the kid into something new? And then what does the old stuff look like that we're telling the kid now it's no longer important, it's no longer valuable, we're going to just do it this way? And I don't think that's fair to a kid in the learning process.
You know, it's so good because you mentioned that importance of knowing the why behind so many things. And even me, 1980s kid that's now, I feel like, rediscovering the world now in my late 30s, that importance of why is something that we need to stress. The why behind it is not just the task. It is the why behind it to make this a full circle learning experience.
Yes,
and that's something that I've been striving to do with my son, and not just teaching him to do the thing, but son, why are you doing the thing?
Absolutely.
Right. So it's very important that you touched on that. And the other part of it is that parent education. So I feel like my call is to continuously be educated with my son.
Yes,
I can't go off of what worked for me and what my grandparents, gave me in my upbringing. So it's hard, I know it's harder because there's so much, but for me, I am very intentional in saying that I have to be committed to learning along with him so I can best support him in his space. So thank you for talking about that from the perspective also too of the parent. I want to ask you this, Diane, because I want you to just slightly reflect back. I want you to think about the 21-year-old Diane. I know you were probably I can't even imagine, who she was, how she viewed the world. what was going on in her head. Were there limiting beliefs? Were there optimistic beliefs? I don't know. But if you could tell her a message, if you could go back and tell her in the space that you are now, maybe about what you're doing, what you see for the future, but just something that can be, I guess, from your seat now, just from a reflective space, back to her at that age.
Well, the 21-year-old, if you can believe this, was a quiet person, not very vocal, did not ask many questions, kind of took stuff for face value. Whatever you said to me was what it was. Didn't look to see if there was a different way to do it, if there was another explanation to it, did not question the process. And it's funny that you would ask me that because my mom says, "Who is this Diane?" when she first saw me public speaking, because from high school all the way up until about 24, I had no voice. At least I thought I had no voice. And so I was that person that followed the rules, that conformed to what was going on, that didn't make waves, but I did ask questions. So that's the thing that I did do. I did ask questions, but even if the answer was not what I thought it would be, I would not question what your answer was. And so if I was the 21-year-old and now I would have said that you had a voice, that you had opinions, that what you felt and what you thought and what you knew mattered, and that you could speak up on it. And it didn't mean that you were being aggressive. It did not mean that you were being rebellious. It was just that you were now in a space that you could say, I feel this, I think this, I know this. And so that's what I would have told the 21-year-old.
I love it. I love it. And believe it or not, Diane, I would have a similar message. I feel like I'm just getting into this voice. 21-year-old would not be on a podcast talking to a Diane. I would probably just be that worker with her head down, and which is what I did for most of my career because that's all I knew how to do was to get the thing done, and not really voice my opinions or things of that nature. So I definitely see a parallel there, and I'm happy that you can say that. Now, I want you to pivot to success. And I'm happy to always ask this question because now we're in a place to where we can redefine success. Sometimes the way you're raised, they have you believe that success is a certain number in your bank account or a certain material possession or whatever it looks like. Just for you, what is success and what are you doing to make sure that you maintain that healthy relationship with success?
Well, I think that success is whatever goal you set, whether that goal be small, whether it be large, whether it be humongous, because I've set some humongous goals. Whenever you reach and whenever you complete the task for that goal, that is success. We always think of success as being something so big that you can never get to it. It's like you're always chasing it. But success for me today was being able to get on this podcast, for me being able to be on time, and for me being able to provide some information to you so that I could help you move forward with what you were doing. That's a big success for me. Small goals I set, but big success for me. So I tell people all the time, my success has been measured in big things and in small things. And it just depends upon what it is. But having a goal and having tasks to help you meet those goals, I think is what defines success for people. And I always tell people, I never wanted to be a millionaire. I never wanted to be a billionaire. I wanted to be that person that helped other people become millionaires and billionaires. I've always worked and strived so that if I just touch one person and that person goes on to meet their goals, to reach the things they've set for them, whatever those aspirations that they have, if they're able to meet that, then I'm successful. I win too because they won.
Oh, that is so beautiful. And that for me too, like I know we talked about this a little bit in me making this thing. And I said, if I can get to a space where it just feels so natural and I can share these stories and I can give roses and I can get and receive advice, like that is a high measure of success for me. And I'm okay to stand in that bold and unapologetically that this right here feels right.
Right.
It feels like the thing to do. So thank you for sharing that. I want you to tell people where they can find you, what's the best place to connect with you? Because Diane, you got a lot of resources. I mean, you out here helping kids with scholarships and mentor. You have a lot of resources and knowledge to give the people. And I want to make sure that we don't lose that.
Mm-hmm. Well, first of all, I am on LinkedIn at Diane Gilbert-Jones. I'm also on Facebook at Diane Gilbert-Jones. And I have just an internal circle of people that know me can always email me at ladidie at sbcglobal.net. I am open and in the community all the time. I do a lot of work in my church in Compton, California. I am connected with a lot of groups that do work within the local churches. And so those are the various places that you can find me. And also, this is what I tell people. You can Google me. I have so many references and citations to work that I have done for the city. I actually, somebody told me about 5 years ago, Google yourself, and I was amazed at all the stuff that came up on me and all of my first that was posted on the internet. So you can Google me as well.
Look, Diane said I got street cred. Just Google me. Just Google me. You can see all the strides I've made. I absolutely love it. So you know I've already Googled you because you know I'm just like that. So I've already went and checked the records, and Diane is she's a runner out here. She has that track record, and she has stayed the test. And I am, like I told her, I am so honored. I couldn't not the space without giving her roses and everything that she has been through, and being the first and having to have this voice and still being resilient and courageous enough to teach and touch the next one. That's a big thing, guys. I don't want you to miss that. But I want to give Diane an opportunity to give us her final thoughts. So, Diane, if somebody is watching this and they caught the tail in the middle, if they don't get nothing else or anything else out of this, let me just say that properly, what would be your final thoughts for this show?
Wow. My final thoughts would probably be, it's okay to be chosen as the first. Someone has to be, so why not you? Because when I look back and I see my whole list of first, I didn't really know that some of them were first. I didn't really think about them as first. I had already come to the realization that no one looks like me, no one is representing me. And so I am grateful to be chosen. So it's okay to be in the limelight. It's okay for people to give you projects that nobody else has done. If you are equipped to do them, just be the first.
I love it. So, Diane, I love you. It's nothing you can do about it at this point. It's just nothing else that can be done. But I do want to thank you so much for being in this space, guys. This has been such a fabulous episode. And I know I've had a lot of them, but this one is ranked pretty high for me because it's meant so much for her to share this space with me.
Yes.
So, as always, guys, we love you over here in this platform. We're going to be back with another amazing woman from our community on the next show. Thanks for tuning in. And as always, let your voice shine.
Let your voice shine.